Hello everyone, welcome back to the show. Hope you're all having a great day today, and in this video we're going to be doing a review for Spider-Man 3, which came out in 2007. This was the third installment to the Sam Raimi Spider-Man trilogy, which starred Tobey Maguire as the lead character. I've also done reviews for the first two Spider-Man movies, and without any further ado, let's go ahead and hop right into the review. And what comes to mind when I think of this film, this might be one of the best examples of good idea, bad execution. And I mean, it's not terrible by any means, but this definitely I feel like could have been significantly better, especially with what they had going for it. And I don't even mind the idea of having three villains, the New Goblin, Sandman, Venom. That's definitely a risky thing to pull off, but it's achievable. In fact, I don't even think that's the problem with this movie, that it's too overcrowded. I think it's more so they just don't really know how to make the scenes merge together very smoothly. And this still works as a piece of entertainment, maybe even a guilty pleasure for some people. That's understandable. And again, I don't even think this is necessarily a bad movie, but it can be a little bit underwhelming. But to start off with what's not so bad, the one thing that comes to mind, the thing that was great about all three movies in this trilogy is J.K. Simmons as J. Jonah Jameson. He's great in all of these movies, so this is no exception. Mr. Ditkovich, who wanted Rent, was also in this movie, as well as his daughter that made appearances. And it was nice to see Dr. Connors, especially considering they were setting stuff up for the next Spider-Man movie, which did not happen. Although we'll get into that a little bit later in the video. And it's also nice to see other characters from the comics like Gwen Stacy and her dad. And Tobey Maguire has a great performance again as the lead character. However, I do feel like you don't really care for him as much as you did in the other movies, because he's not really the underdog in this movie. He's already dating Mary Jane Watson. And also, while Danny Elfman didn't make the score for this movie, they still had the theme he made in multiple different spots. And there was a new theme for the symbiote suit, which was also really great in and of itself. All around, this is actually a really good soundtrack. And when it comes to each of the villains, the first one that comes to mind is Harry the New Goblin. And they did such a good job of slowly setting it up in the previous two films. However, when you get to this film, it doesn't really make sense why Peter isn't like watching his back, since he knows Harry's out to get him. And then within the first fight of the movie, he like bonks his head and loses his memory and just becomes a good guy until he regains it. It just feels like such a lazy thing that they did just to move the plot forward without him having to be involved. I will say it is pretty wholesome when he's like eating cotton candy, but it's not worth it. The other character is the Sandman, and this was a completely new character to this trilogy, although they do tie him back into the first movie with a plot twist that he was the actual killer of Uncle Ben. And to be honest, I'm really not sure what I think about that. I don't know if that's a good change or not. I kind of like the simplicity of what they did with the first film of it was just a robber that shot him. And to be honest, I don't think the fact that they changed the story will make the way I see the original film any different. I don't know if it's necessarily terrible, but I just don't know if it's a good or bad thing. And I will also say the CGI for Sandman was actually pretty decent. That's probably where all the budget for this movie went into, because other than that, I would say this is the worst movie in the trilogy in terms of CGI and green screen. It just feels too cartoonish at times, although it still is fun to see some action. And then of course the other villain is Venom. And you have Eddie Brock, who becomes him after the symbiote suit deal with Peter Parker. And all in all, I don't think it's anything too amazing, but I really don't think it's that bad. I don't even think Venom was the top tier character to begin with, that like they did him so dirty with this movie. I think all around it's pretty fine what they did, although they just kind of wait till the end of the movie for him to become Venom. That does feel a little bit weird. And the way they visualized it, I also think it's a little bit too much hate. It's really not even that bad. But as I said, the way all these different plot points like tie into each other just doesn't work very smoothly. And that really is the big problem with this movie. There are good parts and good ideas in it. There's some emotion in the final battle all around, I would say, is pretty good. If you just watched that, you would have thought that the whole movie leading up to it was pretty good. So there are some things in this movie that work, some things that don't. And as a whole, I definitely think it could be better. Well, I don't think it's terrible. And you gotta love the memes that came from this movie, especially Bully Maguire. It's just amazing. Although I will say those are probably the things that make this movie iconic, because to be honest, I don't think it's as iconic as the first two movies in this trilogy. Because in this movie, it's really just the memes that everyone remembers. while in the other two, every single frame was cinema. So overall, on the quality scale of 0 to 100, we'll give it a 69%, and if you're a fan of Spider-Man, you definitely need to check this out. or if you saw the first 2 movies in this trilogy, you gotta see this. And there is a movement for a Spider-Man 4 movie with Tobey Maguire to come out, and we need that to happen for sure. I think we need that to happen more than another Andrew Garfield movie, and we know Tom Holland's gonna get another movie, so we don't even have to worry about that. And also, as soon as possible would be pretty nice, because the actress that played Aunt May is actually still alive. She's like 96 years old, so she can still be in it. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one.